So Greater Boston Referral Networking, these kind of events aren't our typical event. We usually meet once, twice a week in bars and restaurants, but we're trying to at least once a quarter have a meeting like this to bring in speakers and learn. If you know somebody that's a good speaker, has a great topic, I'd love to talk to them about upcoming events in the 2018, so feel free to contact me about that. Now I'm going to introduce our featured speaker for tonight. He's known as Billy the Coach. And if you saw any of my marketing, I came up with this idea. I don't know where it came from, but I said, meet Coach Billy, dilly dilly. Isn't that amazing? I don't know where I came up with that, but it seemed to work. If you don't like it, you get the pit of this. All right, Billy is our speaker. He is an executive health and wellness coach, motivational speaker. He's a lot of fun. He's exciting to listen to, and I'm going to call him up now.
Thank you, Michael.
Nobody knows Bud Light commercials.
Dilly dilly. To show you the damage that Mike did, we had 35 people at my home for Thanksgiving. My toast was family first, family forever. Dilly dilly. Short and sweet. Michael, thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. Really interesting listening to Bennett, isn't it? I was looking up at the slide here and thinking to myself, how many of these companies were around 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? The pace of change is accelerating at an extraordinary rate. I was talking to Bennett earlier. I said the interesting thing is that we really haven't seen anything yet. Did you guys get that? Did you see this? We really haven't seen anything yet. Technology is just getting a toehold. And what we're going to see over the next 10, 15, 50 years, unimaginable, unimaginable. We used to freak out. Remember we were kids, Dick Tracy had the watch, you talk into it, you wouldn't turn ahead today, wouldn't turn ahead. So let me first tell you how I got here, up here in front of you guys, and hopefully why it will be time well spent. Let me start by saying there's a lot of challenges out there today for both business people. How many people here own their own business? Good. Has your life gotten more or less stressful in the last couple of years? Right? How many people think their life will become less stressful over the next 5 to 10 years? Think so? Good. Good for you. Good. I think that's very possible. I hope that, I'd be curious to know, I'm going to ask you what your secret sauce is. Well, let me ask you, right, for the group. Why do you say it? You're the only one that put your hand up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's about balance. You know,
Good
you
for you.
can't do everything 100% all of the time, so you have to pick and choose what's important and how to balance it with what kind of goals and action plan to achieve the life and goal that you want.
Good
And
for you.
If you don't do it, who's going to do it for you, right?
Well said. Well said. How many people looked up at the supermoon last night?
Ooh.
Right? Very cool stuff, wasn't it?
Beautiful.
Let me ask you something. How many people looked in the bathroom mirror this morning and said, oh my God, look at that. What an amazing thing. Good for you.
I looked tired this morning.
Yeah. I'm trying to give you some props there, right? Right? How many people recognize the most potent, intelligent, adaptable bioorganism ever on the history of Earth? How many people recognize that in the bathroom mirror this morning? Probably not a lot, right? Right? That's who we are, folks. That's who we are. Guys, stress is the toxin. So good for you for having figured out immunity. People, you do not have to be stressed. Stress is a choice. You can't avoid stress. But how many people here think the human race has a good ways to go before we really reach the pinnacle of how we manage stress? I can tell you that part of what got me up here in front of you is about 60,000 hours of work that proves exactly that. So stress is the toxin, and time, interestingly enough, time is the solution. Of these three things, which is most important? Finance, health, or time? Right? People would say health, right? Okay. Let's ready, boom, magic wand. Everybody is the healthiest group of people on earth. All right, good. We got 60 seconds to live. I can just imagine the thoughts going through your guys' heads right now. Right? Time. Time is the solution. Let me tell you why I say that. In 1989, I started what grew to be the largest personal training and nutrition counseling company in New England. We started it in Linfield, Massachusetts. My partner was my sister and a registered dietitian, and we were thinking, how the hell are we ever going to make this work? Are there enough people out there that'll pay us $40 an hour to be personal trainers and nutrition counselors for them? Well, the answer was yes. There was way more than we ever thought there was. And so this began the process of my journey as Billy the Coach in one form or another. So it became, Eddie, we were talking about this, it became pretty obvious there's a funny thing going on. The guy I have at 9 o'clock is doing great. The guy I got at 10 o'clock is running the train off the tracks every time I see him. I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm not exercising. I check my email at 3 o'clock in the morning. How many people check their email between midnight and 3 a.m. within the last 6 months? I hope you're proud of yourself. You need to talk to this lady right here. Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. But guys, that's what I'm hoping more than anything. And remember, in a 30-minute presentation, and help me, keep this tight to the timeline here, guys, so I don't hold you into overtime. We can't do this all in one little chat here, because if you are going to become a master of the most complex thing I think there is on the planet, which is human intelligence, intellect, thought, it's going to take some work. You've done some of that work in your own way. How many people here exercise too much? It's always funny, right? It's always funny again, right? Number one thing you can do to combat stress is what? Exercise. How many people here exercise enough? Perfect, good. Studies show that some people, that as little as 15, 20% of the American public gets the minimum level of exercise that they should. And so we're passing up on a tremendous opportunity to excel, perform, cope, evolve the way that we could. Because it's not for what we think it is. Number one reason Americans give for why they don't exercise is what? Raise your hand if you believe that's true. Thank you so much. What a great group. Excellent. BS from the get-go. Someone tell me, right, it'd be great if we had more time, right? Somebody tell me one human being in the history of life on Earth that's ever had more time than the guy next to you. Is there anybody that can have more time? Is there anybody that can have less time? What do people lack? If it's not truly time, what do they lack? This would be a good one if you get this one, guys. What is it? Jeff? Time management. Yeah, time management. That's what that... Yeah, a lot of that's about, right? What do we have? We have a list of what? Priorities, perfect. And if you want to do something for yourself, for your family, for your customers, for your country, for your future, you should get over the idea that somehow taking time for yourself is selfish. You want to really see how effective you can be at loving people that love you? Do the work of physical fitness. Do the work of good nutrition, because it's hard. It's hard. If you've seen any commercials on television, by the way, I tell you, physical fitness is hard. It's time consuming. Not eating everything that you see in life is hard. Right? But guys, it's not, in my opinion, anything as convoluted or complex as most people think it is. So I'm going to give you some information tonight that I hope will plant a seed in your brilliant minds. How many people recognized, acknowledge today that you are the proprietor of a brilliant mind? You're just showing off now. Bennett, can we get it thrown out of here? I'm only kidding, right? Right? Raise your hand if you are the proprietor of a brilliant mind. Good man. First guy up, okay? Raise your hand if your lungs breathe 17,000 times every day of your life. Okay? Somebody impressed me by telling me how many times the average adult human heart beats every single day. Most, hopefully, most of us have owned one of these for all our lives, right? 80 to 100,000 times every single day. And when it's done, it's going to go back to 0. It's going to do it again tomorrow. That is one hell of a machine. I got a Toyota 4Runner Limited parked out in the garage. Nothing like that. Nothing. 34 trillion cells working autonomously and in unison to make you, you, and you, you. But we stare up at the supermoon and we go, ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. And we look in the bathroom mirror and we're as blind can be. You are the temporary custodian of the most incredible genetic code that's ever been seen on this planet. Just saying. Just saying. You know, that's the way it is. But what do people say? People say, oh, that runs in my family. It's always so funny, right? I've heard this 1,000 times. Oh, no, you know, obesity runs in my family. The old joke is the doctor says, no, the problem is nobody runs in your family. Right? 1920s, California, there was a gentleman by the name of Paul Bragg, way before his time, going around the country doing these like kind of almost like Baptist revival tent things. Only in 1920, this guy was talking about nutrition way ahead of, I mean, the guy was 50, 60 years ahead of his time. So there was a young mother out there, she had a kid, and she saw Paul Bragg's thing was coming to town, oh, good nutrition. And she saw that Bragg said that nutrition can help us behaviorally. So this woman latched right onto that because she had a pain in the ass punk kid who was in his teens, he was getting thrown out of school, he was getting in fights, had a terrible relationship with his father. And she said, oh, maybe this will help. So she dragged this young son of hers to Paul Bragg's tent nutrition thing. And it was at that event that this young boy looks back in hindsight and said that it changed his life forever. It was the first time he ever heard anyone talk about food in such a way and talked about exercise and sort of like well before Jim Rohn coined the term personal development. He was talking about people working on themselves. And this young man said that this changed his life forever. And the mom was happy too. This young man's name was Francois. Probably none of you would recognize him by that name. His last name was Lalane. And his middle name was what? Jack. Francois Jacques Lalane. And just as TV began to come into its own in the 1950s, here comes Jack LaLanne. And if you remember, he had the blue onesie on. You got to be a little old for this one, right? But you remember, right? No, right?
Everything was gray.
Everything was gray, right? Yeah, right. Well, I remember when we had 56 and 38 and 56 when that first came on, okay? Guys, the point is this, a lot of people don't know that the physical fitness business only goes back to about the 1950s. So that's a good place to start. Why are we struggling so much? Well, are we struggling with physical fitness? How many people here think that the overall health of the average American citizen is improving? Not a single hand goes up. Yeah, maybe, right? Isn't that amazing? Not a single hand goes up. So I guess we'd have to say that we have to think that the health of the average American is either stagnant or not getting any better. So let me tell you one other story that will just kind of frame what I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to give you what I believe is the most important information you're going to hear in your adult life. Let me say it again. I'm going to give you the most important information that I believe you're going to hear in your adult life. Okay? I grew up in Revere, Massachusetts. Anybody know where Revere is? Did you go to Kelly's? I hope you're proud of yourself. 2 o'clock in the morning, half in the wrap, you're eating the fried fish plates at Kelly's, oh, you know, right?
Fish is healthy.
Yeah, yeah. Way to spin it, Mike. Okay? Grew up in Revere. This guy I grew up with, we did everything. We were kids, did everything, kids, ball, sports, crazy, it's great. Got to be teenagers, things got a little funky. Now we discovered drugs. And I don't care whether it's Beverly Hills or Revere, Massachusetts, you can find all the drugs and trouble that you want if you're so inclined. You can also find all the incredible opportunities that you want. Anyone here. You can't make a case against it. But me and this guy I grew up with, we started to do things that I probably wouldn't do them again. I probably wouldn't do them now at the ripe old age of 59 years young. But we were doing drugs, drinking, doing what kids did. It's all we knew, and you know, we grew up in Revere. That's what we did. That's what people did. Well, at one point, I kind of went one way and my friend went the other. And he had it rough. Okay? This guy's dad was drinking 24 tall buds every single day of his life at the point of his career. Anybody thinks they can knock him back? That's right, 24 tall boys a day. Now, this guy, my friend, went into harder and harder drugs until, unfortunately, I remember walking into a hospital room at Beth Israel Deaconess, it was Joslin then, to see for the first time this guy I grew up with lying on his deathbed. On the nightstand were 2 Newport cigarettes, his last 2 cigarettes. And in my home office in Exeter, New Hampshire, those 2 cigarettes reside years, decades later. And if my house burns down, those 2 cigarettes are coming with me. The reason this is all so important to me is because this guy's dad was my dad. This guy I grew up with was my Irish twin brother, 14 months older than me. I have witnessed firsthand the incredible power of human choice, the manifestation out here of what goes on in here. This is a staggering power that everyone in this room has. Everyone has it. Yet we are not employing it. We are not understanding it. We're not manipulating it on a day-to-day basis to the degree that we can. Now, let me use the rest of my time to tell you how you can do that if you are so inclined. There are 5 most common destructive things that people use to blow up a perfectly good life. And I'll bet there's not a single person in this room that has not witnessed some version of what I've told you. Okay, so the 5 things that people will do to mess up a perfectly good life. Give me one of them. I just told you one of them. Drinking, perfect. Okay, drinking, one of the most favorite worldwide, I can tell you. Okay, we got drinking. What else? Drugs, good, perfect. Drinking, drugs. We got 3 more. Jeff. The most abused substance on the planet today is food. Okay? It's food. Drinking, drugs, gambling, smoking, and the #1 most abused substance on the planet today is food. I don't say this lightly for obvious reasons, what I just told you about my brother's demise. I want to talk about a crisis. Here every day you hear about opioids, right? It's not good. I mean, anytime a human life is neglected or dissolved to such a degree, that's never good. Does anybody know how many people died from opioids in 2016, roughly nationwide?
30,000?
30,000, it's a good guess. The number I've seen is 60,000. That is a tragedy. There is enough shit in life that will take us apart without us having to contribute to the process. 60,000? Does that qualify as a crisis? I guess so. 600,000 people died every year in the United States from obesity and type 2 diabetes related conditions. 60,000 is a crisis. 600,000 is just the way we do things? I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. I am not in the business of telling people how to live. I'm in the business of talking to people of how you can access the higher ground of human cognitive performance. Here's how you do it. Drinking, drugs, gambling, smoking, overeating. By the way, does anybody get fat from what they eat? If I put a Big Mac up on this podium right here, it's going to chase me across the room to come get me? Have you ever seen a cigarette smoke a human being? Have you ever seen drugs do a person? Stress is the toxin. Stress is the alpha carcinogen in this world today. Researchers say that the average human being experiences between 30 and 60,000 thoughts every single day. That's enough to drive me crazy. That's certainly sufficient for me. Does that hit you guys? Isn't that surprising? Think about it, right? Whatever time you got up this morning, how many thoughts have you had today? You probably had dozens before you rolled out of bed. Do I hit the snooze button? The cat's on the bed again. Where's my bathrobe? What's for breakfast? What day is it? And you haven't even gotten out of bed yet. What did I eat and drink last night? Oh my God. Right? 30 to 60,000 thoughts every day. It's enough to cause people tremendous stress. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with it? Well, I gave you the 5 bad things. And by the way, like I said, do people get overweight from what they eat? People get overweight from what they think. People lose weight by what they think. The way we exist, the way a human being manipulates, navigates the physical world, requires human thought to precede every single thing we do. Never in the history of our species has an action been taken without a preceding thought. That makes sense to you guys? That's the way it is, right? Everybody raise your left hand. Right? See what happened? Right? You know, that's how it works. And we haven't inserted ourselves. We don't administer that process the way we can. Here's how you can do it. There are 5 things. If you want to really move to the highest level of human experience, the human condition, there are 5 things that you must do. Anybody want to take a crack at what's number 1? Exercise. What are you going to say, Jeff? Exercise. Okay, good. How many people here have ever heard of cathepsin? And guys, we're in Cambridge. We're at HubSpot. We're lucky. We're smart. We're educated. I'm guessing most of us had people around us that loved us, supported us, wanted us to see us thrive. Yet no one here knows what cathepsin is. I'm going to guess nobody knows what BDNF is, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Isn't it interesting that both cathepsin and BDNF penetrate the blood-brain barrier, which is located where? In your head, okay? And where does BDNF and cathepsin happen to come from? I don't think it was a mistake of Mother Nature that these two substances come from muscle contraction. And muscle contraction causes the release of these chemicals which are able to transcend the blood-brain barrier. BDNF is considered the miracle grow of the brain. Great book, by the way, Spark by Dr. John Ratty. If anybody wants to read an incredible book, the scientific connection between our health and the way we think. How many people have heard of Alzheimer's and dementia? Right? How many people have ever heard of sporadic Alzheimer's? See, it's so good we got together. Okay? Guys, I would encourage you to Google up sporadic in your free time. Check out sporadic Alzheimer's. And what you're going to find, and I believe this is already a done deal in a lot of corners of research, you're going to find a direct correlation between chronically high blood sugar levels. The name of that condition is called what? Diabetes. And the buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain, breakdown of neuronic connections, the buildup of tau, and this appears to be very strong evidence to see the connection there. So if you want to have your mind-brain complex work the way it's possible, you have to exercise regularly. Number two, you have to eat responsibly. How many people drove here? Would you ever pour Coca-Cola in the gas tank of your car? Right? No. Right? Yet we don't fuel our bodies. Nothing wrong with drinking Coca-Cola, by the way. Again, you don't become an alcoholic because you drink. How do you become an alcoholic? Excessive. You drink too much. 6 million years, folks, I can assure you, there's no grilled cheese sandwich on this planet that's going to slow you down as a human being. That's crazy. That's misunderstanding how well you are armed biologically, genetically, intellectually. There's no hamburger that's going to stop you. You are going to stop you by not being able to manage stress in a healthy and productive way. Exercise regularly, eat responsibly. You must rest sufficiently. How many people sleep too much here? Right? Right? Number four, you have to learn constantly. Learning is push-ups for the brain. Who here can tell me? I need a volunteer. Tell me something you've done in the last year that you've never done before. Think for a second, Eddie. Got married, yeah. Eddie's got his first baby on the way too, right? And Eddie, isn't it interesting, right? Isn't it a strange place we live in? Because when Eddie, God bless you, man, when your baby is born, what are they going to say? Is everybody well? Is everybody good? Eddie, is your wife good? Is the baby good? Thank God, right? What happens to that over the next 40 years? Where's all that go? Because it's a train wreck, folks. $3.2 trillion in healthcare spending, projected to be about $5 trillion by the year 2022. What are we getting for our $5 trillion? Well, I'll be happy to tell you, okay? Heart attack in the United States every 40 seconds. Stroke every 42 seconds. Diabetes and obesity, like this on the graph, it is rising unabated. You guys realize that? You can spin it any way you want. As a matter of fact, there was a study done just the other day, and it said that if current trends continue, but the average 57% of kids in the United States will be obese by the time they're 35 years old. Anybody think healthcare costs is expensive right now? This is a jam, people. This is a real jam that we're in, okay? Exercise regularly, eat responsibly, rest sufficiently, learn constantly, and the number one thing that nature has put into your brilliant opportunity here on earth is to live presently. How many people have some understanding of what it means to live in the moment? Good. Do you think you can do better at it? I do too. Let's take a look at that for a second, okay? When Bennett was given his presentation, was that in the present? All right. Where are we now? How can that be? Bennett had the present. Aren't we the future?
We were then. We were the future then. When he was present.
My friends, Albert Einstein, any distinction between the past, the present, and the future is an illusion, however tenacious that illusion may be. I am actually quite pleased to tell you that you are my entire life right now. Not my wife of 36 years, not my 2 kids, not my 3 grandkids, not my 2 dogs, not my business, not my ride home. You, here, now, is my life. Do you feel that? Do you see that? When you wake up tomorrow and you go about your business, when you hug your loved ones, you are in the moment. That is all there is. You guys buy that? Well, would you buy the fact that every single thing in your life ever happened in the present? Kind of interesting, isn't it? Would you agree that everything in your life that ever will happen from this moment forward will happen in the present? The illusion that Einstein spoke about tells us that we're going to walk out of here in the future. Is that true? Now it starts to get interesting. Now you can begin to see why I took a much, much different track. Eddie, we were talking about personal trainers. It occurred to me, physical fitness is nothing but a behavioral thought process. You guys are armed with the human genetic code. It's astonishing. It's unstoppable. How many people in this room honestly believe that you can do anything that you put your mind to? Good, okay, good. I believe that's true. It ain't gonna come easy. It ain't gonna come quick. But do you realize that we are creating the reality we experience? Right? So if I want to step up on the chair to make a point, I can do that. Right? I'm creating the reality I experience. Guys, here's what's amazing about discovering the moment. You're not discovering something new that you can do for the rest of your life. You're discovering the very systems, the very mechanisms that you've been doing since day one. That's how a human being navigates. That's how the thoughts in here manifest into the world out here. Is anybody wearing anything here that someone told you to wear today? No. It's all thought. It's all choice. It's extraordinarily powerful, folks, and I am effing psyched to be up here talking to you about it, because Billy the coach being here at HubSpot tonight, however indiscernible an event that may be in the greater scheme of things, is living proof that our time has come. We have no more to learn. We have no further to travel, to come face to face, to confront the incredible nature of what it means to be a human being. There's some debate about it, but I think it's roughly 15 or 20,000 years ago people started to speak in real language. 5,000 years ago people learned to write written language in mathematics. And I believe that in the 21st century what we are doing is getting our first very rudimentary understandings of what it means to think. How powerful that is, how creative a force it is once it comes from in here to out here. How many people have you ever heard, you know, we're starting businesses, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. How many of you ever heard you have to see it in here before it can happen out there? Right? Walt Disney said it. If it can be imagined, it can be done. Guys, before I run out of time, I want to make sure that I give you these next 3 things. I believe it is the most important thing you will hear in your adult life. It's that encompassing I didn't dream it up. You can find it in the history of yoga back 6,000 years ago. You can hear it in Gandhi. You can hear it in Jesus Christ. You can hear it in Martin Luther King. You can hear it in Maya Angelou. This is a thread that's been coming through our human experience forever. But only in the last 10 years has neuroscience and neurobiology begun to really clear the fog of what's happening here. I was with my friend Sanjeev Chopra. We were sitting over at Harvard Medical School, and his brother Deepak was up on stage with Dr. Rudy Tanzi. Rudy Tanzi is the head of Harvard's Human Genome Project. And Rudy said to Deepak, he said, "Deepak, do you believe that people are prepared for the evolutionary leap they are about to encounter?" Deepak said, "I suspect it will be like it's always been. Some will be ready. Most won't be." You are creating the reality you're experiencing. You are doing exactly what you want. You are making exactly the amount of money you believe you should. And until you're willing to get that naked, that brave in front of what you're thinking, you can't be eligible to take care of what comes next. So, here are the 3 things that I want to give you that I believe, if you can recognize them, they've been occurring in your life all along. But if you can understand them, if you're inclined, you can put these thoughts and these techniques at your service in a way that will change everything. Number 1, stress is the toxin. Stress is the carcinogen. Rule number 1, focus on the things you can control. Don't be distracted by anything else. Think of the political vitriol, the verbal street fighting that has gone on throughout this last election cycle. Whether or not Hillary or Donald Trump was president, they're not going to call me to check and see if I'm on board with what they want to do. And I don't think they're calling anybody here. But how many people have been pissed off about the political process over the past year? A lot of people. No, I don't blame you. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay? Focus on the things you can control. Don't be distracted by things you can't. It is a complete waste of the most precious resource you have, which is what? And the only time is what? Now. And if I stand here for 10 seconds with my mouth shut and say, "What time is it now?" It's going to be now. It was always now. That's all there is. Any distinction is an illusion. Focus on what you can control. It is an extraordinary liberation from 90% of the stress that people suffer. It is an extraordinary application of the incredible resource we have called presentism. Do good at what you're doing now, and you're going to look back and find out, I did everything well. Once I understood the game I was in. Rule number 1, focus on what you can control. Do not be distracted by the rest. Give yourself permission. Trust the process that you can let it go. Your life will be all the better for it. Rule number 2, if you're going to accept a behavior, it is imperative that you accept the consequences. How many people here have been pissed off about sitting in traffic for the last year, at some point in the last year? Yeah, it's natural, it's normal, right? Well, did you think when you pulled your car out of the driveway that the seas were going to part and everybody was just going to get out of your way and there weren't going to be a gazillion other knuckleheads out on the road? Did anybody actually think that? And if so, well, I don't know, I want to live where you live, but if not, what are you pissed off about? You got in your car. You're going where you're going, with a gazillion other knuckleheads driving their cars where they're going. If you're going to accept a behavior, it's critical that you accept the consequence. And if you are going to accept the behavior of forgetting rule number 1, you have just fundamentally screwed yourself out of one of the most streamlining and enabling opportunities that you have as a human being. Number one, focus on what you can control. Liberate yourself from the rest. Let it go. Let it go. It's not going to help you. It never did. Number two, if you're going to accept the behavior, it is imperative to accept the consequence. Anything less is delusional. If you're going to accept the behavior, you've got to accept the consequence. A lot of people in the United States are kind of pissed off about the health insurance premiums these days, right? They're accepting the behavior. They don't seem to be accepting the consequence. And that, story for another day, what a great opportunity we have there. It's a mess. It's a real mess. But there's a great opportunity here. Guys, rule number 3, Mike, I'm sure I'm coming close to out of time here, but guys, rule number 3, live, think, experience your life in the only place it ever did happen, the only place it's happening now, and the only place that everything you experience from here on will happen. That is called now. The present. The present is the only place where the mind-brain complex can function. Now, let's do a little, and I'd love to have a couple of questions from you if you'd like, and feel free to press me on any of this, guys, any of it, okay? How many here would agree that a human being, well, let's look at it this way. Birds fly, fish swim, human beings choose. 30 to 60,000 thoughts every day. That's a big stream of stuff. We subscribe to some of those thoughts, and we let some of them go. But would we agree that human beings choose? We good with that? Okay, good. That's really important. Can a human being make a choice in the past? Nope. Can a human being make a choice in the future? No. Who said yes? It's okay. Who said yes? Somebody, right? Michael, right? It would appear so, all right? So I can say that I'm going to watch the Bruins game when I go home at 9 o'clock. I'm just pulling something out of the air, okay? That's not a choice. It's called planning. And if I get a call that my 86-year-old mom fell down the stairs on the way home and I'm going to divert from the Bruins game to her backyard, that's a choice, correct? And there's also an impenetrable barrier that prevents a human being from making a choice in the future, and that is simply because what happens to the future just as it arrives? Becomes now. The past is gone, and the future never comes. Any distinction between the past, the present, and the future is an illusion. Guys, think about this. I'm not asking you to drink the BTC Kool-Aid here and just throw your clothes off and run down the street all evangelized, okay? I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to put these seeds in your head. Test them. See if they are not true. I've spent 30 years testing them, and I have not seen them fail once. Not once. And here's why it's such a great idea to localize your energy, your focus, your abilities, your talents, your past. Localize it in the future for a very simple reason. All anger and frustration is rooted in the past. Nowhere else. All fear and anxiety is rooted in the future. Nowhere else. By localizing your attention and your energy, your focus on the moment, you liberate yourself from 90% of what stresses people, and you empower yourself in such a way as to be the master of the moment. And if you learn how to master the moment, you will learn how to master anything. Watch this real quick, okay? This side of the room smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and they have for the last 20 years. This side of the room over here drinks as soon as they get up in the morning, and they've been doing it ever since they're in high school, okay? So you guys following me? 2 packs of cigarettes a day over here. These people drink every single day of their life starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. Here's my question for the smokers. As I'm standing here with you, can you tell me right now with a reasonable level of confidence that you can sit here and not touch a cigarette for 60 seconds? You guys with me? How many would be willing to do that? 60 seconds. No? You couldn't go 60 seconds without a cigarette? What do you think, guys? I think it's a pretty good bet, isn't it? Drinkers, okay? All I'm asking for is 60 seconds. Can you, with reasonable confidence, say, yeah, I can sit there without 60 seconds without having a drink? Can you do that for me? Any distinction between the past, the present, and the future is an illusion. Guys, there's nothing but the 60 seconds. If I asked you the same question now, what's your answer? The answer is yes. If I ask the smokers the same question at 9 o'clock tonight, same answer. Yes, I can. Of course I can. So guys, I know I've given you a lot of stuff here to think about, but this is the evolutionary leap that Rudy Tanzi was talking about. How many people have ever heard of a book called Man's Search for Meaning? The great Viktor Frankl. This gentleman was imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp when he came up with the theory of the space between stimulus and response. Quoting Viktor Frankl, in the space between stimulus and response is our human ability to choose. In our ability to choose lies our growth and our freedom. Freedom from a legacy of confusion, inefficiency, violence, prejudice. And the growth to what nature has designed us to be, the most extraordinary, self-defining creature in the history of this planet. If I'm wrong about anything, I just believe in you guys more than maybe you do. But I'm not wrong. You are incredible. When your baby is born, Eddie, wow, it's unbelievable. But we'll look up at the sky at the supermoon. We won't look at it. We'll be blind. And if I'm being honest with you folks, how many of you are going to remember this? How many of you are going to be blind in the mirror tomorrow? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh. Yeah, I'm not feeling all that Billy the Coach stuff here. Right? Guys, I so appreciate you giving me attention. What a nice audience. Thank you so much. Can I answer any questions about any of this for you guys? Anybody have any questions? Exercise, nutrition, learning. Nothing? Did what I say make sense to you guys? Did it make sense? Give you something to think about?
Yeah, I want to ask you about, so in terms of living in the presence, and what you also mentioned, that for something to become reality, we have to be able to visualize it. How do you reconcile the fact that for us to create our future,
Yep.
we have to visualize it?
Yeah, it's a great question. How many people here meditate? Nice, good, okay? When we meditate, right, we turn our attention inward. We stop the doing, and we challenge ourselves to be in a pure state of being. We allow our mind-brain complex. It's like letting the horses out of the barn. We let them go where they want. We're not trying to accomplish something. We're not task-oriented. And so we don't think about the way we think very much, in my experience in the United States today, or even globally. This is an evolutionary process, I think, that we're witnessing. But for the first time ever, we're able to see that as we think, so we live. William James, as a man thinketh, right? As we see ourselves, we are. As we see the world, it is. And so if you believe that you are somehow attached to some legacy of scarcity, that real success, real abundance happens to people that are smarter than you, luckier than you, taller than you, better looking than you, more educated than you. such will be the case. But when you allow that refinement of our thought process, when you learn to trust it, when you learn that you are not here to fail, you are here representing nature's creative force as much as anything on the planet. That's true. Remember, if the aliens came over HubSpot here in Cambridge right now and they plucked any one of us out of the group, when they lay you on the table up there, they're going to be just as dazzled by Eddie as they are with Mike or anybody else. So it's really about understanding. Guys, let me give you a couple of resources that would be really, really good for you if you're interested in this, okay? So first of all, I would say the power of now. How many people have ever heard of Eckhart Tolle? Right? Isn't he great? He's hysterical. Brilliant guy, right? But, I mean, there's some YouTube videos. I mean, this guy's just hysterical. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Understanding the upper limit problems that we all have. Many people encounter new levels of success, and what do? They find themselves in an unfamiliar territory. Wait a minute, this isn't me. This isn't what I was told since I grew up in Revere, Massachusetts. I can't have real abundance. I'm the scarcity guy. So The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and I'll give you one other one, Spark by Dr. John Ratty. The new understanding between our physical well-being and the way we think. The first beneficiary of a good lifestyle is your cognitive ability. Ability to cope, create, evolve, and adapt. Any other questions? Yes?
What's your daily exercise routine like?
Mine, personally? I have two obligations. I go to bed, bedtime's 10 o'clock. I get up at 4 o'clock pretty much every morning of my life. I have two obligations to myself. And guys, don't let anyone tell you, and don't ever subscribe to the BS. And I've heard it so many times, oh, I do it for my kids, but I won't do it for myself. Next to no time, that is the lowest hanging fruit on the tree of excuses. If you care about your wife or your husband or your kids or your future, then entitle it to the best version of you that it could possibly encounter. That would be a good thing. Number one, meditation. I probably exercise 5 times a week. I ran the Boston Marathon. I ran from Boston, Massachusetts to West Palm Beach, Florida. I played semi-pro football at the age of 39. I've been very, very blessed, as we all have been very blessed. Remember, all our lungs are doing 17,000 reps a day. Next time you hear somebody dump on their genetics, you might want to remind them of that. It's extraordinary, unbelievable what we are, how we do it, how we've evolved, where it's going is really exciting. So I'd say I exercise typically. I don't have a gym membership. I belong to gyms and 1,000 of them. I do pretty much body weight exercise, push-ups, sit-ups, squats. Could easily ride my bike from here to my home in Exeter, New Hampshire. Would have fun doing it, to tell you the truth. I'm a 10-year-old in a 59-year-old body. My running days are probably over. I saw Dr. Zorek, orthopedic surgeon, a few weeks ago. He said, yeah, Billy, you got a little meniscal tear, but about 75% of the cartilage in your left knee is gone. All right. Well, on that run to Florida, myself and 11 other people, one of them was my 21-year-old son. I got to run to Florida with my 21-year-old son. I'm good if I can't run anymore. Yeah, we did it as a fundraiser for, I was the head of Dave McGilvery's Children's Fitness Foundation. The guy is the Boston Marathon race director. We had to do, what was the question?
How long did it
Oh, yeah, we had to do, each runner had to do 18 miles a day for 11 days in a row. Guys, that might seem like something to you. I think you'd be shocked what you could do, what we're capable of physically. For all the ladies in the room, you produce human beings. I mean, if you ever seen that process go down, I gotta tell you, running to Florida, we definitely got that. Definitely got that. Guys, I can't emphasize enough. As Billy the coach, I know I'm doing my best work when a smart person says to me, I never thought of that before. When they hand me the bullshit line that I'd do it for my kids, but I won't do it for myself. It's always funny to hear that silence when I say, well, why isn't it good enough for your parents' kid? What's wrong with your parents' kid? How come they don't get the same love and respect and priority? Well, I never thought of it that way. Guys, I want to stop. I know it's late, and I appreciate it. If anybody wants to get in touch with me at billythecoach.com, my email address is btc@billythecoach. I'm not here to sell you anything, but if something I said triggered your awareness that you are extraordinary beyond what the common person walking the street today understands, that's not a knock, it's where we are. What an incredible thing we can do together. What an incredible opportunity is at our feet. If any of that intrigues you, it would be absolutely my pleasure to spend 15 or 20 minutes drilling into some point that we talked about if I could help you in any way, okay? So thank you. Thank you for being extraordinary human beings. Go out there and kill it now, all right? Go kill it. Thank you, Michael.